Clemson fans, we've got a packed Friday of winners. Softball battles through two tight games, one-run victories to open the Clemson Classic with a statement, and baseball on the other side beats VCU behind a strong pitching and timely hitting. And in recruiting news, Clemson's chasing one of the best receivers in the 2026 class. That's all coming up right now on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of this show, and also host and producer over on 105.5 and 97.5 FM. Thank you so much for being a part of the show and tuning in and making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you're new to the show, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and notification bell so you can never miss an episode over on YouTube, and also subscribe over on podcast so you never miss an episode there. I put out exclusive Clemson content every single week, Monday through Friday. So hopefully you are enjoying it so far. Still trying to get into the mix here in the Locked On Podcast Network, but I'm enjoying my time here so far. Don't forget to follow me over on X at the Morgan T Show, where I, am up to my normal antics over there. Today's show, I kind of waited because I wanted to see what the teams would do this afternoon on the diamond, and man, they represented Clemson very well. As I mentioned earlier, Clemson softball scrapped out two hard-fought victories to stay unbeaten at home so far, so that's good. They started out their tournament really well this weekend. Baseball's pitching steps up and overpowers VCU, so we're going to talk about that. And then Cederian Morgan. That's right. We're going to talk about another Morgan, not me, big time elite recruit receiver that Clemson is chasing against some other powerhouses. I'll tell you what I think about him, give you a little bit of background, kind of like a recruit highlight overview, and tell you what I think he's good at and what other schools are probably have a little bit more of a lead than Clemson as well. Before we get into it, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So go check out FanDuel there. All right, segment number one. How did Clemson softball get their two wins today? I'm a big softball fan, and it's baseball softball season, so we got to talk about it. And the first game was a very close game. Probably a little bit closer than we're used to, but you don't win 4-3 and 1-0 games without being one thing, and that is tough. All right, they had two tight matchups today. And, it's difficult to play two games back to back. Softball typically does it a lot. So maybe the ladies there are used to it, but they had they played very well this Friday. The first game, well, let's start off with the first game against Elon. The Tigers got punched in the mouth early. And, I've been telling you a couple of weeks now that Clemson has got to figure out a way not to have to play from behind. And, they did that today. So the first batter of the game gets hit by a pitch. The second batter sends one out to left field, 2-run homer. And just like that, Clemson is down before they even get up to the plate. So, adversity from the very beginning, playing from behind from the very beginning. Some teams might panic. This team is very new, very, very, has a lot of new faces, very fresh. Has a lot of freshmen. So some teams could lose focus. Some teams could panic. But I think Clemson did a really good job of responding properly to the adversity at the beginning. Fast forward to the fourth inning, bases were loaded. Senior Abby Vieira gets a rally going with a single. Freshman Ava Wilson, who, man, she has looked great so far throughout the season, stepped up with a good hit. And Marion Collins also gets in the box, gets on base with a walk to keep the pressure on. But in the moment of the game, Jamison Brockenbrough, a transfer from Tennessee who's kind of had an up and down start to the season, was originally like at the top of the lineup and then put all the way to like the 9th spot of the lineup because she just wasn't hitting very good. Comes up clutch. She's really been clutch in the last 3 games. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from her. I think it was at first like I mean, really, honestly, the two big time transfers that Clemson had this season were Brockenbrough and Basinger, and both of them were kind of like, was this the right move here? They kind of started off a little bit cold, but man, she ripped a 2 RBI single up the middle, tying the game. Elon answered in the 5th, coming back in the lead with an RBI double, but again, Clemson fought back. Wilson gets on again. Collins draws her second walk. Brockenborough loads the bases with a walk herself. And then Maddie Moore, our superstar second baseman, delivers in the biggest spot with a 2 RBI single to center field. And that put up Clemson 4-3. And in the 7th inning, freshman pitcher Macey Cintron, superstar freshman pitcher that we're just loving to see so far. She is kind of like a Valerie Cagle Jr. in my opinion. I don't want to put that pressure on her, but I'm doing it anyways. She is hitting and pitching at a high level right now for a true freshman. It's pretty awesome. Closes it out like a true freshman, or like a true veteran, finishes with 10 strikeouts, a career high, and locks in the win for Clemson 4-3. And then the second game of the afternoon was against Villanova. If game 1, you could say, was highlighted by toughness, mental toughness, resilience, fighting from behind, game 2 was about pitching dominance, which, really, both of those situations we didn't see while Clemson was away from home in those Clearwater tournaments. So we're kind of seeing what we had expected or had hoped for now here that they are at home. And I told you this. I said they need to get home. They need to get around the Clemson fan base. These girls that haven't ever played at Clemson, they need to see what it's like to be with the Clemson family and see what a home game is like, and what all that what all the backing of Clemson Nation is like. And then also with the pitching staff as well, Reese Basinger and the transfers, Jamie Brockenborough, they can get in there and see what it's like to play for Clemson. I think they will start to get the ball rolling as well. And, if it goes downhill, it could just snowball and get bigger and bigger. Basinger was another game. This is like the 3rd game in a row again for her. Lights out, 8 scoreless innings, 8 strikeouts. And I said 8 because they went into extras here. She stranded a runner on 3rd in the 8th to keep the Tigers alive. And the game was all tight all the way through. Clemson turned a key double play early on to keep Villanova from taking the lead. Maddie Moore nearly ended it in the end of the game in the 7th with a deep fly ball that was like just barely from the fence. And then in extras, Moore was placed on second base. They had the tiebreaker rule with putting someone on second base. And then Julia Knowler stepped up, 2 pitches in the bottom of the 8th. And, not surprised when I tell you that Julia Knowler stepped up. So 2 pitches in the bottom of the 8th, ripped a single through the right side. Moore comes flying around 3rd. Clemson walks it off 1-0. 2 very difficult games, one built on offensive perseverance and resilience and mental toughness, fighting from behind. The other one built on the back of Reese Basinger, 8 just amazingly strong innings from her. And so Clemson now starts the Clemson Classic with the momentum going into Saturday, 2-0 start to the tournament. And you got to be really excited about that and what the Clemson softball team is doing. And I got to be honest with you. I think that, I mentioned this over on X at the Morgan T Show. The comparison is the thief of joy. Do not compare this team to the previous teams because they're just not. They're younger. There's a lot of new faces, not just to Clemson, but new faces to college athletics and college in general. So they're just trying to find out where their classes are, where the cafeteria is, where the spots to hang out are, and they're just trying to learn, how to win games at the college level. And then you have ladies that have come over from other teams. They're trying to figure out, okay, what is it like now for me to be a starter in Brockenborough, and now for Basinger, what's it like to go to this next level at the ACC level play that she is not used to yet. So pretty cool to see the Clemson team kind of start to build on some momentum here. It all started with that Saturday huge win over Ohio State. How could you not love a win over Ohio State, a blowout win, by the way? So I think that what we're seeing here is good stuff from Clemson softball. Don't write them off yet. A lot of people were worried early in the season, but it's a long season, and I'm curious to see how they'll go. And I look forward to watching them this weekend, and hope you are as well. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you enjoyed the games this weekend on the softball side, and we'll throw it to baseball coming up next and see how the baseball team took care of business against VCU. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on the fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action, and if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your bets into a same-game parlay. Now, I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps me in the moment of the game throughout the game, and it keeps the excitement there. And plus, if I win, the app is easy to use, and I get paid instantly. It's pretty awesome. So right now, if you're a new FanDuel customer, you haven't tried it before, go over there and get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, we're going to shift gears here and talk about Clemson versus VCU in baseball. Not a super long segment because I kind of just saw a little bit of the highlights, so I'll give you some of my thoughts and then we'll bounce it over to my segment that I'm really looking forward to, and that is talking about a big-time future star recruit that could come to Clemson football. So the baseball games are won, on the pitching mound, and softball games too. It's all about either you have pitching or you got a long season if you don't have a pitching. So Clemson proved that they did well this afternoon. Knaak got up there and he was fantastic again. 5 strong innings, striking out 8 and allowing just 2 runs. But here's the key. Bullpen, even better. Titsworth came in 4 innings, didn't allow a run, and struck out 5. Clemson won this game by pitching big time. Offense, I would say maybe your best player was Gaffney because he had the most RBIs, but really not much. If you go look at the box score and you watch some of the highlights, not much on the offensive side of the ball for sure. Not flashy, but effective. Clemson scored 6 runs on just 5 hits. How? Because they capitalized on mistakes. Listy had an RBI double, continuing to do what he's doing. Gaffney, as I mentioned, had 2 RBI sac fly. And the hitters, what I really loved about majority of the game is that they didn't chase just the trash pitches that were out there. They drew 6 walks and made VCU's pitchers work late into the count, converting scoring chances when they mattered the most. The takeaway here is, I think what we're seeing from this season's Clemson team, which is an elite team, is that the formula for them is strong pitching, which we feel pretty confident with Darden and Knaak, Titsworth, and Garris. And they're still working on their Sunday pitcher. We'll see how it goes there. And their weekend pitcher, the weekday pitcher, we didn't even get to see. So because of the weather changes. But the takeaway for me, strong pitching, disciplined at bats, making opponents pay for mistakes, and they just get on base. That's for sure. So I really like what I saw from Clemson baseball, and I thought it was another great outing for both softball and baseball this afternoon. All right, here are my overall thoughts for what we learned about Clemson baseball so far through 4 games, 3-1 overall record. Here's what I think we know for sure. Clemson's pitching is better than expected. Aiden Knaak looks like a true ace out there. The bullpen is starting to take shape with Titsworth emerging as a key weapon, which we liked him last season at the end, and now he's just continuing with this season. The offense is deep and versatile. They don't have to hit home runs to score, is what I was mentioning at the preseason. I was like, maybe they do need to do that, but we're seeing they really don't. The transfers like Dominic Listy and Josh Pano are proving their worth for sure. Gaffney with the 2 RBIs today. Biggest questions for me is, one, Sunday starter is still a huge question. Legarnik struggled against Ole Miss, so we really don't know from the last Sunday. Does he get another chance this weekend, or is it someone else that steps up in his place? And then Cam Canarella, has he really found his rhythm or not? We thought he did the past 2 games, and now with this Friday, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. So looking ahead, those are my big questions. Are they going to move Cam Canarella again, and what are they going to do on Sunday? But overall, the Clemson baseball team is exciting to watch. They can get runs in many different ways. They get on base, got Purify. I didn't mention him earlier. He stole a base, and very opportunistic overall. I love using that word because, I just think that's what truly Clemson baseball is all about this year. And I'm excited to see what they can do this weekend. They have that tournament as well. Up next for them will be North Carolina A&T on Up next, yes, is North Carolina A&T. I don't know. I was looking at the schedule and I thought I looked at the wrong thing, but yes, Saturday they're going to play a doubleheader, North Carolina A&T, and then VCU in the afternoon, and then Sunday they're going to play North Carolina A&T again until they follow up Tuesday, Winthrop, and then just next weekend is the South Carolina matchup for sure. So early season for that. Looking forward to it. Let me know what you think about the Clemson baseball team. Do you really like what you're seeing so far? I think I'm enjoying it. Go follow me over on X at the Morgan T Show, and let's talk about it for sure. I'm excited. All right. So the last thing on my list here, and one that I'm pretty excited about, is Cederian Morgan. He's a recruit that Clemson has been going after, and he recently posted with Hayes Fawcett over on X and Instagram, and he had Clemson in one of his top schools. So it perked up my ears there, maybe Clemson is in the mix with this player. And so I wanted to take a look a little bit deeper into who this recruit is, what Morgan is all about. And plus, considering my name's Morgan, his last name's Morgan, I think it's a great fit for Clemson right there. So I'm going to say he's coming to Clemson already, even though I really don't know for sure at all any of that. But I'm going to think it in my mind that Clemson has a really good shot at Cederian Morgan. Now, he's a standout high school football recruit for the class of 2026, one of the top wide receivers nationally, from Alexander City, Alabama, playing for Benjamin Russell High School, listed 6'4", 6'5", depending on where you're looking, 200, 210 pounds, a prototypical big-bodied receiver with elite athleticism. And can Clemson land a big-time elite athletic wide receiver from Alabama, Alexander City? I think so. I mean, they've proven it that they've done it in the past. They've been able to get wide receivers from outside the state of South Carolina for many years now, and they've been able to get elite wide receivers. And I got to be honest with you, from what we're seeing the past season, and Tyler Grisham gets a lot of flack, but he seems to have been able to bring in some guys that are instant contributors. Wesco, Moore, Brown, Williams. Those are Tyler Grisham guys. And as much as you want to pick on him for this or that when he first started out, a lot of the frustrations with Tyler Grisham and the wide receiver group were from those trail end guys from Jeff Scott. Whether or not you want to believe that or not, it's true. A lot of those guys that were just absolute busts were Jeff Scott's guys at the very end, or transitional guys in between the Scott Grisham era. And, Tyler Grisham, at least with the group that you have right now, I have kind of held him pretty high as a recruiter myself. So this is just add this guy, Morgan, as on another part of the list of, possible recruits. If he lands, could really solidify him as a solid wide receiver recruiter, in my opinion. Morgan is a versatile athlete. He excels in track and field. I noticed that he has a 6'4" high jump as a sophomore, 100-meter dash. He does hurdles. He plays basketball. He showcases multi-sport talent, basically in high school, no problem. And when you look at his national rankings, 247 Sports has him as the 10th overall, number 2 wide receiver, number 1 player out of Alabama. On3 has him as the number 2 player out of Alabama, number 3 wide receiver overall. ESPN has him as number 38 in the top 300. Rivals has him as 7 overall, number 1 wide receiver, number 1 player in Alabama, and they have him as a 5-star, 4-star by most, 5-star by consensus. So this guy is an elite wide receiver In his junior season, I found it looks like he's got about 70 receptions, 1,162 yards, and 14 touchdowns. Just an absolute dominant stat line reflecting how good he is on the outside. He describes himself as just an all-around package with speed. Some places are saying he's got about a 4.55 40-yard dash. I think that's what you see. This guy is a big guy that can also kill you with his speed. He has really good contested catchability. 50-50 balls really do well for him, and his vertical leap is some of the best that we've ever seen. Now, he recently made that post on social media about what teams he was looking forward to and what teams were his top schools. Right now, he's narrowed it down to Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and Clemson, and also Colorado. So he has official visits set up for most of these schools. Georgia's May 16th and 18th. Clemson's May 30th and June 1st. So I think that's pretty good for that summer camps that Dabo Swinney will do. You know, in the past, he's been able to land some pretty big names and guys in bunches in the summer. So I hope that Clemson can get there. They're not going to be the earliest because Georgia is. They're not going to be the latest because right now Alabama is, and Colorado is TBD. But he's going to be doing a lot of visits from all those schools during the summer. Will Clemson be able to make a difference and make an impact on him in the mix of all those other teams that he's in other universities that he's going to go see? He has offers from 29 other schools, including Ohio State, Tennessee, and Oregon. But really the front runners, Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Clemson, Colorado. And I had somebody over on X tell me, well, Morgan, you know, don't get your hopes up too much. He's from Alabama and he's got Alabama, Auburn. They're so much closer. And I get it for sure. I get it. And, you know, this guy's a speedster. So Florida, Georgia, top SEC. I get it. But Clemson has shown they've been able to compete against those teams in elite recruiting. So I think that that's the case, that they can do that. And they're going to keep pushing for it. Colorado in the mix as well. Some people say, well, I'm worried about that because Colorado, you know, Deion Sanders doesn't do your traditional recruiting. So if he has Colorado in the mix, what does that really indicate that his interests are? Is he just going to be someone that's going to be a very expensive top recruit to get? Or is he going to be one that wants to go to a place where he fits the best? You know, or does he have an interest in a school because of other things other than NIL money? You know, it's hard to say, but we'll find out as the recruiting keeps going. My opinion, though, Clemson's inclusion in the top 6 is notable, and they face a big battle for sure for in-state powers. The Clemson has the prestige, you know that they're two-time national champions. They have track record of developing T. Higgins and Justin Ross and, you know, Sammy Watkins and DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, those guys, Hopkins was just in the Super Bowl. So you obviously see the guys they have on campus right now and how well they're doing and what they're getting seen in the national media. So can they hang with other schools and develop big-bodied wide receivers? Yeah, definitely, for sure. What about the coaching ability? Dabo Swinney, you know, he's a family-oriented leader, and his culture is second to none. Cederian praised Auburn for their family vibe. Well, you got to think if he comes and visits Clemson, he's going to get the same feeling as well. And I think he would fit well for Garrett Riley and what he's trying to do to evolve Clemson's offense to be more dynamic in the passing game, which could really showcase what Morgan can do on the outside. So I think that, you know, Clemson definitely has a lot of things going for them. What are their biggest challenges? Well, you know, distance is for sure a challenge. Somebody has to really be interested in Clemson to come 200 miles plus away from Alexander City. Auburn's much closer, about 50 miles. Alabama's much closer, about 70 miles. So those two in-state schools are going to have the obvious distance competitive advantage there. Now, depends on kind of what's swaying him. I know some of his high school friends, teammates, some guys he's played against, they all seem to be very interested in Alabama and Auburn. A lot of the guys who, you know how it is, you're from the state, you want to stay in the state, you grow up as a kid, cheering for those teams possibly. So they do have a little bit of an advantage for sure. A lot of some of the message board stuff that I look at seem to hint towards he's going to be in for Alabama, Auburn, and maybe everybody else is on the outside looking in. But Clemson's chances really hinge on how good that official visit is at the end of May, early June. If Dabo Swinney and staff can really show him what it means to be a Clemson Tiger, what campus life is like, what Clemson family is all about, how they can describe and articulate and visualize the path to the NFL, the path to his playing time at Clemson, emphasizing how well they've been able to develop receiver recruits over the years, could really make them part of that race with the two Alabama teams. I think so, for sure. But it's going to have to cause a shift in priorities. If he wants to stay close to home, it's going to still be very hard to get Clemson the edge. But when you look at his skill overall, I looked at some of his film over on Huddle, and I got to tell you, it's really good. You're going to have to go watch it. I recommend that for anybody who's trying to get into recruiting. Look these guys up when they post about Clemson, when they say they got an offer. Go look them up on Huddle. Check out some of their video. See what you think, and take it for what it is. It's a highlight video over there, and it's going to be their best plays. But I think if you wanted to say, Morg, what are your grades for this guy? I'm giving speed, I'm giving him an A. Route running, I'm giving a B. Hands catching, A. Vertical leap, A+. After the catch, A. Overall, he's an A+. I mean, this guy for me is an elite guy. He could get better here and there, refining his crispness against one-on-one coverage. And he's not the perfect right out of the snap, but I'm telling you, those are the things that you just develop as you get more reps and you get into the college game and you get with more elite coaching staffs. And I'm telling you, this guy is going to be a guy that you're talking about on Saturdays on College Game Day. He's going to be the highlight of your team and your offense, and you're going to want to definitely get your name in the mix here. And so thankfully, Clemson definitely has that right now from what we see. If I had to say who on the grading scale was his interest level, it seems like from what I can tell, Auburn, Alabama lead the way, then possibly Georgia, Florida. So a heavy SEC mix. And then Clemson, I think, making the top 6 makes it promising. But right now, I really don't know until we get some of his feedback from some of the beat writers out there after he comes visits this summer. So hopefully everything stays in place where he comes to visit and enjoys his visit. I do think Clemson does a really good job in those summer visits, so in those summer camps. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what he can say after the fact, because I think it could really sway him towards the Tigers, if it goes well. Now, future outlook, he's a 2026 guy, so he's still got a senior season ahead of him. But he would be one of those guys you'd probably see commit later on at the end of the year. That's going to be my expectation for him. So let me know what you think about Cederian Morgan. When you go watch his video, what do you like? What do you think he needs to improve on? What do you think Clemson's chances are? You can chat with me and talk about the shows over on X at the Morgan T Show, or you can chat in on the YouTube channel as well. I always try to reply back to you. Hey, I want to say thank you so much and give you a big shout out for everyone who has been tuning in so far to the Locked On Clemson podcast. I really appreciate all of your love and support. I've had my own podcast and show for a long time, but it's been great to partner with Locked On to be able to provide you a really well produced show with a lot of help on the back end. So I can worry about the front end and be the host for you, and the Locked On people can help me with all the stuff on the back end. It's really a great partnership that I am thoroughly enjoying so far. Hey, that's it for the show. Make sure you follow me over on X at the Morgan T Show. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On College Basketball with Isaac Schott and Andy Patton. Don't wait for March to be the most informed college basketball fan. Find Locked On College Basketball right now on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And that's it. That's a wrap for the show today. I appreciate you again. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you next week and at the top of the hill.